Andy, what's up, buddy?
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you?
Talking about home stretch here, ballots are in the box. I got mine on Friday, and folks are filling them out. So, Andy, how you feeling?
We're feeling very good. I mean, the campaign trail, it's a huge district, but it's the most beautiful part of Arizona. No disrespect to those who aren't in the district, which, by the way, aren't very. I'd say we're very lucky. The road's been very good to us. The crowds have been great. The response has been incredible. Folks just want their country back. They're tired of governing by crisis. I happen to agree with them, and we have a very clear distinction between the two of us, and so we're enjoying it.
So Andy, going to national issues and kitchen table issues and whatnot, you couldn't ask for a better kind of wind in your back here as the president continues to stumble on the Ebola controversy and then stumble on the Secret Service controversy and on and on and on, the VA scandal, the IRS, which we just talked about.
How about people's? You know of anyone's premiums that have gone up since? Who's that show?
Hit my kitchen table, man, double and a half on my premiums on my health care. So that's got to be what you're hearing on the campaign trail.
Well, we're hearing that, but in this district, you run for mayor in every town. That's how it works.
Yeah.
And you go to Joseph City, and you go to Winslow, and you go to Show Low, and you meet those people who work at the Troya energy facility and coal mine up there. They want to know why people are shutting down their jobs.
Yeah.
That's what they're mad about. Folks have already agreed that Obamacare. If you like it, vote for Ann. If you don't, vote for me.
Right.
At the end of the day, most people are just about had it. And this is the promise of if you like your doctor, you can keep it. If you like your insurance plan, you can keep it. By the way, families will save $2,500 a year. I mean, that's what we were told. And
it was a lie of the year last year. Yeah, it was huge.
Oh yeah, well, besides all, here's how it even more deeply hurts rural Arizona. They cut $1 trillion out of Medicare. Can you imagine if I cut $1 trillion out of Medicare? This is the party that said they would protect Social Security. I defend Social Security because it's a promise. It's not an entitlement. There should be no touching of Social Security. Medicare is a fund that we pay into as well. They cut $1 trillion out of that. And my argument is that if they'll cut Medicare, what else will they cut? And now look at what's going on in rural Arizona. Physicians are struggling because that $1 trillion are supposed to be part of their reimbursements. So they're struggling to stay in business, or they're going to end up in a hospital association, or they're going to move to the valley or just retire.
The Navajo Nation on this is a big part of winning this thing. How is your opponent spinning the closing down of the parts of the coal plant and job loss? How does anyone even justify that?
Well, she says that she fights the EPA, and I'm like, well, which is almost laughable to find that there's never been an EPA so out of control like the one we have now.
Yeah.
And my challenge to her was, because she said, well, I voted no on that bill because it had 3 other things in it. I go, well, drop your own bill. Drop your own bill. Do what we did in Arizona. Put a moratorium on regulating for a couple of years. Let's give these businesses and our economy a chance to recover. But of course, she doesn't do those things. So, from my perspective, from what's happened to our veterans, from what's happened to our seniors, this is beyond the pale in this rural district that is struggling to recover anyway.
Yeah. So so Andy, we put our endorsements out, Chris and I, and we of course picked you in your race, and we wish you best of luck there. You're in Chris's district, you're not in mine, so Tucson's a little bit divided, Pima County. One of the things that I will say to the folks that are independents or Democrat leaning and trying to think of the future and what it means to our state, it is clear that the House will not convert over to the Democrat Party. It's going to stay Republican. Who do you want more in these seats of making decisions on the committees and whatnot than folks in the majority party? So someone like yourself and McSally gives us much better representation at the talking about issues like EPA. We start talking about natural resources and land use planning and military bases and those kind of things. It's all about majorities. And there's a really good chance to put you in that position to make some real decisions for Arizona.
Well, I appreciate it. My opponent's trying to tell everybody she's this bipartisan person who votes with Obama. 90% of the time, the truth is that 90% of the legislation that I did at the Capitol while I was Speaker was bipartisan. And they don't want to have that conversation. And what I'm hearing from folks is they're afraid. They're afraid. Without border security, do you have national security? They don't believe that, and that's why law enforcement almost exclusively, the fire district association, the fire chiefs have all endorsed me. The Border Patrol local union endorsed me. They all think that I'm the guy to make them safer. They all know what my record is, but I just find it fascinating that the newspaper can say, well, he voted for 1070 and he hates Common Core. I'm like, goodness gracious, when I was in the primary, my opponents were telling everybody just the opposite. So we think we've landed in the right place here. I mean, for all the good work we've done at the state capitol, nobody brought money back in the highways like I did. Nobody gave pay raises to public safety, protected senior nursing homes, fought drug trafficking. For heaven's sakes, fellas, we just opened a trade office last week in Mexico City. I was back there for that to help grow jobs. And on the Navajo Nation, finally, after 25 years, we dedicated Navajo Code Talker Day, 25 years after Ronald Reagan did it. And I was there. The nation invited me. Ian Kirkpatrick wasn't there. I was there. And so we think that, with our Child Safety Agency and all the good work that we've done, especially for our veterans, we built 2 nursing homes. So during all this crisis that's going on with our veterans out there, at the end of the day, their COLAs have been cut, their cost of living increases. Mm-hmm. They know it. Mm-hmm. They know it. They shut down our memorials. They shut them down. Mm-hmm. Here in Arizona, we built nursing homes for them. We built them. We just dedicated another cemetery up at Camp Navajo here north, just east of Williams. And they know here in Arizona that Andy Tobin's with them and our veterans.
So this is a very new district since the amazing redistricting job. When you look at the past data of how last year's vote went, what needs to happen between now and November 4th for a Tobin victory? How do the numbers need to tumble for you?
Well, the answer is everybody needs to go vote. To direct to your audience and direct to your voters, I get it. If you're not happy, because you think I've cut too much or whatever that is, that's fine. But you also have to remember that we just didn't cut here in Arizona. We made it work. We joined arm in arm with cities and counties and local businesses, and we had Prop 100. It was the one thing that going through the primary, they were right. I supported it because it gave us 3 years to recover. 3 years. Ann Kirkpatrick opposed it.
So Prop 100, for those listeners that don't know what that is a 1 cent sales tax for a 3-year period to kind of shore up the Arizona tax balances.
It should have been 4 years, but at the end of the day, this is where it got us. So what I want them to know is that when it comes down to the difference between us, somebody has to govern, and you don't govern by crisis. You don't come back and say, look what I did for veterans after the veterans scandal occurred. And by the way, except for the secretary, nobody's been fired.
Yeah.
Nobody's been fired.
Right. It's crazy.
So, as I look at this is about can you govern? And while people can have their argument about the way I govern, they can't argue that we were in the worst condition our state's ever been in since the Great Depression, if not worse. And we've gotten ourselves a shot to get out of this. And we went ahead and did what we had to do, and we governed well. So what they're doing is this is a daily crisis that goes on back there. She will tell you she does not second-guess the president. I tip my hat to her. She's standing with the president on Obamacare. She's standing with the president on border. She's standing on all of those things that mean the most. She's certainly standing with them in opposition to coal, in opposition to jobs in rural Arizona. So at the end of the day, what I want folks to know is that my door has always been open to Republicans, Democrats, and independents. You guys know that. Mm-hmm. My door has always been open. We passed some of the most far-reaching legislation in Arizona history down there. We passed help for. We're going to have a veterinarian school down at the University of Arizona. We passed just when our reaction to some of the mental health issues. We now have mental health courts in Arizona. They've never done any of that. So we hit all of these issues. And it was a whirlwind. I'll share for the 6 years down at the legislature since I've been in leadership. But going back to Washington, D.C., somebody will stand up and tackle the problems.
Now, Andy, for those listeners that have not got a chance to meet you before politics, you were an insurance agent, right? You were a Knights of Columbus, and Chris met you on the Columbus Trail. I heard one of your hit attack ads said you're an insurance executive.
Yeah. My wife laughed.
Right. Aren't you an insurance agent? I mean, don't
He's
you
a
work
broker.
in a broker, right? In a small town.
Listen, I've had in my life. I've had a lot of kept a lot of balls. I was an aerospace CEO for a small company, 200 employees. I was national president of the JCs, where it was all about charity. I mean, I handed Jerry Lewis a check for $1.8 million on stage in Las Vegas. I fought and worked hard for kids and charity. I come from a family that believes community service is a responsibility. It's not about just volunteering. You're responsible. It's an obligation in your community to do those things.
How many Discoverer plans did you sell in 1991? That's what I want to know. Don't make me do Jim Mulligan impressions on you on the air. Tobin.
At the end of the day, I got Democrats all over this district who are working with me and know that this is not Obama Democrats in Congressional District 1. They are not. They are people who are hungry for work. They are people who want their families to be able to live in the communities they're raised in if they choose to. And that's a struggle in rural Arizona. And you have to admit that jobs are not better now, despite what some folks want to tell you, and we are not safer. And these crises that come across our border, and that's what people are feeling. And they know where I've been. I've taken the political hits for making us safer here in Arizona, and I'll take them back there in Washington, D.C. as well.
Well, Andy, we got to run those back.